State as it concerns you. A wonderful morning to you all. I am Chike Obogu. On the agenda today, someone promises easy money. People invest their savings, get loans, and even convince friends to join. Then one day, poof, the money disappears. Year after year, Nigerians lose everything to these scams. Yet, no matter how many stories we hear, people still believe the next opportunity will be different. If you don't know someone who has been scammed, check again. Maybe it is you. Everyone wants that financial miracle. But as the old saying goes, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. So, what is the psychology of Ponzi schemes? Why do we fall for them? Let me take you down memory lane. Back in 2016, MMM Nigeria took the country by storm, promising people 30% returns in 30 days. Oh, how Nigerians dropped 38. Everybody had that one uncle, colleague, or church member who swore by it. People emptied their savings. People took loans and even dragged in family members. Then came the crash. Tears, panic, accounts frozen, and lives ruined. So why do we still fall for it? Joining me in this discussion is my guest this morning, Dolapo Charles Anjorin. It's good to have you on the agenda this morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mr. Chike. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, Oyo States. It's my pleasure to be in your studios this morning.
Were you part of the MMM scheme?
No.
Were you part of the Wealth Solution?
No.
Pennywise?
No.
Oh, so you've been a very careful investor.
Yeah, I've been a very careful investor. It is not in my nature to actually do Ponzi.
Before we talk about the specific Ponzi now, Ponzi seem to be the order of the day in Nigeria. Why do people fall for all these Ponzi scams?
Well, I think we're a country that is addicted to shortcuts. When you look at the situation of the country itself is a place where it's running like a pyramid scheme. You know, it's a country where we are borrowing debt to pay yesterday's debt to pay today's debt. So you cannot, roll that out. And when you also take it further, people have lost trust, in government institutions. They have placed their trust in, scammers, social proofs. People now see risk-taking as rational and not reckless. People have mistaken the appearance of wealth, for real wealth. In a country where you have a high inflation rate, where bank interest rate is like 4%, where the prices of bread annually, has tripled, more than 30%, and where a country where a bag of rice has actually tripled, 100%. Let me give this instance. In 2015, for a family of 5 to actually cook a pot of jollof rice, it's going to cost them about 4,500. Fast forward down to 2025, as I speak to you this morning, for a family of 5 to actually, enjoy one pot of jollof rice, it's going to cost them about 36,000 naira.
How? Do the mathematics. Break it down.
Yeah, when you look at the maths, it shows how inflation rate has actually affected you know, our daily consumption.
Because I know at some point I could cook a pot of jollof rice for 750 naira.
Yes.
400 naira.
400 naira.
So
back
when
in
you
the
say
days.
4,000 naira.
4,000 back in 2015.
In 2015, it
Yeah.
was still fair. You
Yeah, it was.
You could still buy rice, you know, and you
A
prepare
bag of
meal.
rice as at then was about 7,500, 8,000 naira.
Yeah, basically. So
Yes.
if I'm going to buy, like, if I'm going to, you know, boil some few cups of rice, then, you know, just a pot for a family of 4, thereabout, or family of 6, you'll find out that the fish was cheap. You could buy good.
Of course. Yeah, so the bottom line is, so when people see a Ponzi scheme that brings, like, let's say 30% increase on their investments monthly, you know, it looks like hope to them.
Are Nigerians not gullible?
Well, I wouldn't
In the
say
sense that someone walks up to you and introduces something, bring 20 naira, you get 40 naira.
No,
What work are you doing? You know, you just drop money somewhere and then they say they will double it. These are money doublers.
Yeah,
I see them as advance fee frauders, 419ers.
of course, advance fee frauders.
Yes.
But you know, psychology has proven that scarcity, you know, creates a vacuum.
So first of all, Nigerians seem gullible.
Yes.
With these Ponzi
scheme.
Ponzi. I don't want to call it a Ponzi scheme now. It's a Ponzi cartel. They're a cartel.
Yeah, they're a cartel because
they feed on the poverty of the people, and then they serve the people what they want. They give you, you know, when you invest, bring 20 naira, you get 40 naira. Bring 40 naira, you get 80 naira. And then you start looking for how to raise more funds. Dump millions of naira. Someone came to me some weeks back and asked me for money. Let me give you this story. And they didn't have anything at home. I could only part away with the little I had. Eventually on Sunday, I saw the young man. He was all moody. I was asking him what the problem was. He didn't tell me anything until his friend said, CBEX. I said, what's CBEX? He said, CBEX. Oh, CBEX has CBEXalized you, if I use that word.
Wow.
And then, so how much did you put? He said 1.2 million. And then you were coming to me to ask for money to feed? What act or what name do you give such a person?
You see, like I was trying to say, psychology has proven that scarcity affects cognition. And when you look at it, CBEX, all this Ponzi scheme, to ordinary Nigerians, they bring economic justice to the table for them.
Momentarily?
Yeah, no, they don't even see it in a momentary manner.
Okay.
They see it as, you know, a long-term investment. You know, they are not seeing beyond what is being offered. Don't forget that we have 60% of the population in the informal sector that are not educated, that are not well educated about the disadvantages of taking risk, you know, disadvantages of, you know, investing your money, you know, in profitable ventures. How many people in the informal sector knows about government bonds? How many people in the informal sector knows about open market operations where they can actually, you know, invest their finances in? A lot of people don't buy.
Is it another way to say that the people have lost faith in government?
Yes, people have lost faith in government. That's exactly what
because
you are saying.
There are bonds.
Yeah, there are bonds that
there are fiscal policy, open market operation policies on ground where people can even invest money.
Yes, invest their money on. But you know, people want quick cash, and don't forget the get-rich syndrome. You know,
the get-rich-quick syndrome.
Yes, in the society as well. You know, a lot of people wants to be seen.
Let me hold you on that. You know, this issue of people not having faith in government. I asked someone yesterday, and the question is, how many young people invest in stock exchange, in the stock market? You know, I was talking with a stockbroker, and I asked him, what's the statistics of the younger generation investing in stocks? He said it is abysmally low. This just to justify your get quick rich syndrome.
Yeah, and the adequate lack of knowledge. There's a trust deficit. People would rather trust their pastors, their religious leaders. Don't forget that during the MMM days, we have pastors who rubber stamped it. We had what do they call it? We have celebrities, who rubber stamped it. So people naturally will put their trust in these people because the institution of government has failed.
So instead of narrowing it down to pastors alone, let's use the word religious leaders.
Religious leaders, yes. Apologies for that.
Yes.
So religious leaders, people run to them, for succor. And we have religious leaders that actually, rubber stamped, some of these Ponzi scheme. I was attending a church few years back during the era of Word Solution, Pennywise. I won't mention the name of the church on here.
That was around 2008 now.
Exactly. The church invested their tithes and offering in Pennywise. But, they were fortunate.
They became penny foolish.
No, they didn't even become pound foolish. They actually reaped their investment because at Ologunero here in Ibadan, where they have their church built on. So automatically, they rubber stamped.
They endorsed it for the church members.
Yes, for church members, and church members actually invested heavily in it. And when the thing came crashing down, church members, they lost out.
But the church gained.
Yeah, the church gained. Of course, they gained. They are always gainers and they are always losers.
Let's go on this break. When we come back, more talking points on the agenda this morning. Stick around. Don't go away. Back from that quick break, that short break, we're still discussing on the agenda. We're looking at the latest scam, the latest Ponzi scam. It's called the CBEX. Reports have it that about 1.3 trillion naira had been frozen. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission have vowed to hunt down operators of Ponzi schemes nationwide. The federal government agencies declared this Wednesday following the collapse of the digital assets platform, CBEX. The Securities and Exchange Commission, however, revealed that it had yet to receive formal complaints from the collapsed digital assets platform, while the FCC said individuals who invested in CBEX digital trading platform will get their money back. Well, there's some assurance there. Now, this is it. Many people have invested. I have a story to tell, or a poem, or a write-up that I penned down for this CBEX issue. Or maybe let me go through that write-up so that we'll get to understand it better. I have a brief message for our teaming viewers. CBEX is gone. But you know what is worse? The next platform that is coming. And some of you will still fall for it. Because when you are desperate, deception looks like opportunity. But let me say this clearly. 30% returns on investment monthly, that is not business and not a sustainable investment. 100% returns on investment in 60 days is not an investment. It is gambling. You play games with your money. Distribute value. It's just using you. A good business doesn't entice you. It will educate you. Please, dear viewer, build your wealth on what you understand and what you have control on. And invest in what you can expect of cash outs and testimonials without asking about the business model. We have to stop being emotionally seduced by numbers that don't make economic sense. You can't have a hunger for wealth without a hunger for financial wisdom. Let this CBEX be the last Ponzi scheme in Nigeria. And let it be the pain that wakes you up. CBEX. Back to you, Dolapo.
Yes.
I hope my message is clear.
Yeah, that was a beautiful rendition from you.
It wasn't really a rendition. It's a warning. People should stop doing this. Don't you think so?
Yeah, people actually need to stop, investing in schemes that would, cut away their commonwealth. And at the end of the day, throw them into more penury and poverty. Because as it is at the moment, trust me, the hospitals are going to be having a lot of patients, suffering from high blood pressure. So I can imagine when you also factor in the rising cost of medical supplies and some of these drugs, because you have a lot of people who actually took loans, sell their assets to actually invest, in this scheme. So it's greed, as far as I'm concerned. Pure greed.
Pure greed.
Yes.
And our people are still not learning.
Yeah, people are still not learning. That's why I said they rationalize, risk taking, and it's actually recklessness.
This is not a form of optimistic gambling.
Yeah, it is an optimistic gambling. Like I said, the informal sector, even you cannot even exonerate government totally out of this. Because between 2007 to 2000 and this moment, 2025, about $347 billion, was allocated in forex without any audit trail. Institutions looked away. Regulatory bodies looked away. So they are all culpable in this. So looking at everything, the buck still stops at the government's table. Even though the buck stops at their table, we also need to educate Nigerians. No matter how the hardship looks like, no matter how difficult it is, to actually live on a daily basis, we need to apply wisdom, because wisdom is profitable to direct.
Well, the EFCC has said, that's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the anti-graft agency in Nigeria, has said that, yes, investors will get their monies back. Well, two questions. Is that feasible? And secondly, is this what to tell people to calm them down?
Well, I don't know how they will go about it, saying investors, actually get their money back. I think I saw in news where they said they've transferred the 1.7 trillion naira into an, ETH wallet. We are talking about cryptocurrency now. The truth of the matter is, past Ponzi schemes, Pennywise, word solution, get rich quickly, so many MMM, yeah,
blah,
so
blah,
many
blah.
so many nomenclatures, for this Ponzi scheme, where investors were able to get back their money, or this is just another fable speaking, from, or
Was
let
it
me
just
say,
to calm the nerves of the people?
Political statements.
Was it just to calm the nerves of victims?
Maybe, maybe
self-inflicted victims. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe when we start seeing the steps that EFCC and other regulatory bodies are actually taking to clamp down on this Ponzi scheme, then I can personally believe that okay, investors in this scheme are on the verge. Yes, of course.
As usual, right?
As usual.
Okay.
It comes in different forms, different formats.
And the people will still
People will still fall. Yeah. It's all about manipulation. Even the educated falls for it. Falls for it.
All right, let's go to another agenda this morning on this program. We have this agenda, and it calls for serious worry. Oyo State lawmaker, Honorable Lekan Abiola, moved a motion on curbing the use of cell phones across secondary schools in Oyo State. The lawmaker representing Akinyele First one state constituency in Oyo State House of Assembly has appealed to the state government to enforce a ban on the use of personal mobile phones by students in all public and private secondary schools across Oyo State during school hours. Honorable Abiola made the appeal while moving a motion titled "Need to Ban the Use of Mobile Phones in Secondary Schools in the State to Improve Student Discipline and Better Academic Performance." During the plenary presided over by the Speaker, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundoyi, he revealed that while mobile phones serve as important communication tools, their misuse among secondary school students has led to negative behavioral patterns, including increased cases of truancy, peer influence in harmful activities, and a decline in reading culture. This morning, we'll be looking at this. Dolapo, another matter begging for serious attention. Children now go to schools with mobile phones.
Device.
Now, primary, secondary school. Well, first of all, this motion moved by the honorable member, Honorable Abiola here, well, many have seen it as a call in the right direction. These are some of the motions we should be seeing in houses of assemblies across the country, right?
Yeah, well, I quite agree. I quite agree, but I do not totally agree with the lawmaker. I think there should be a balance to it.
How?
They say technology is a useful servant,
okay,
but a dangerous master. In as much as we want to ban the use of mobile device, I think
in primary and secondary schools, during school hours.
During school hours,
yeah.
Yes, I quite understand that very clearly. I think there should be guidelines, not a total or outright ban. There should be guidelines on how these mobile devices, whether tablets, phones, laptops, should be regulated in schools. You have people who do not even have textbooks. Not every student have textbooks. You have students who has small mobile phones, and while in class, they've been able to use technologies like Google. You have AI to actually get more understanding of what they are being taught, just because they can't afford to buy a textbook, but because there's an alternative where you have cheap data. They can buy a data of 500 naira and do all of these things. I understand the concerns of the Akinyele local government House of Assembly.
Akinyele House
yes,
of
House of Assembly member. I understand it, but I think there should be a kind of balance. There should be a way we can regularize, the operation of these things, not total and outright ban.
Let me ask you, how do you intend regularizing the use of mobile phones or mobile devices in primary schools, in secondary schools by pupils and students? How do you intend regularizing it?
Well, for pupils, I don't think they are at that age where they can actually make use of mobile device, because if you are talking about pupils, you are talking about kids from pre-nursery down to
so let's look at
standard 6.
Let's look at kids from primary 4 to primary 6.
Primary 4 to primary 6. That's what I'm saying. You need guidelines. And because there are so many ways to skin a cat, actually. So we can have a guideline whereby you can ask primary school pupils, you can tell them, to desist from bringing mobile devices, to school, except the ones that, the school themselves provide for them. We have schools who have now have ICT centers, have ICT equipment that students can actually make use of, you know, in primary schools. But when you're talking about secondary schools, private secondary schools can be able to afford, you know, to build an ICT center, an ICT hub, where students can actually learn ICT skills. But for government secondary schools, are they actually equipped? Because I'm actually talking from the experience of people that I know that are closer to me. I know students in secondary school that cannot afford to buy a textbook.
But they can afford to buy mobile phones, right?
Well, they have, in short, they have mobile phones. Whether they bought the mobile phones for them or they were given, but not overly expensive.
So how can you see? I'm trying
phones.
to understand the rationale behind this. How can you be unable to afford a textbook, but you can afford a mobile phone?
Well,
in this present day Nigeria, with the rate of the dollar and the cost of phones now.
Yeah, it could be a gift to some of these students.
Okay.
It is not expected that a child or a teenager who is still under the tutelage of his or her parents,
yes,
you know, should be able to afford overly expensive mobile phones or expensive where they have access to mobile phone and they are using one that I have personally seen who have not been able to afford textbook, but depends, you know, on buying data to actually consolidate on what has been taught to them in class. You know, it means if you are going to be doing that, you would be, you know, blocking digital access, you know, during study hours.
Okay, so now is this not a bomb waiting to explode in the education sector? Yes, we understand that there is a generational gap, right? Yes. During going to the library, and then now there is an evolution.
Yes.
There is technological evolution right now. So, is it not an aberration and a slap in the face of the government and even in private-owned institutions that they no longer have libraries where students could go and read, and these libraries are called the electronic library, the e-libraries.
Yes.
So if you provide e-libraries for your students, why then would you accept students come to school with mobile
phones?
So is it not a slap on the face of government and even on private individuals who own institutions?
Exactly, because banning mobile phones is like saying you are closing down a library because some books in the library, you know, contain some misinformation. So tact needs to be deployed into the, because
so basically what I'm saying is this: must students go to school with their mobile phones? Why shouldn't the school provide an electronic library for them?
Students will continue to go to school with their mobile phones if the infrastructure for study is not being provided by stakeholders in the educational sectors. We will continue to see this kind of trend. Instead of, the bill is relatively okay, but as you are trying to pass that bill, can we also have a bill that would say that every public and primary school student would have an e-library in the school? Because if you are saying you are banning the use of mobile phone, you must provide an alternative whereby the students, you know, will feel that, okay, we have an e-library in school, we have an ICT hub in school where I can actually go to at so time to actually consolidate on what my teacher has actually taught me in class. And if any student is seen bringing smartphones, mobile device, or any kind of mobile technology to school, there should be punitive measures against such students. But in as much as there's no infrastructure to, there's an infrastructural deficit, you know, in the educational sector that promotes adequate learning, you know, we will continue to see this kind of trend. And I don't know if the Honorable House of Assembly member will be listening this morning. As you are planning to scale this bill into the final reading and, you know, rubber stamp it to become a law, let us also see an House of Assembly member or from the same House of Assembly member that will sponsor a bill that will make it mandatory for every student or pupils of primary schools up to secondary level have access to e-digital learning within the school premises. So we need to see the reflection of these alternatives in action.
We look at it from this side,
and we also look at it from
the other side. So we reach a balance. We
yes,
strike a balance.
We strike a balance.
All right, let's move on swiftly. There is this story here that I would love to bring to your notice, and it's talking about politics now. 2027, the coalition to unseat Tinubu, according to the Punch newspaper, it says is gaining ground. That's coming from Atiku Abubakar. Former vice president has reiterated the commitment of the coalition he is putting together to adopt a strong platform to oust President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 election. Atiku, who is a founding member of the PDP, made the declaration during a meeting with the delegation of national opinion leaders. We paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja on Wednesday. Well, basically, Atiku Abubakar wants to make sure that he forms this coalition that would oust the present president, the incumbent, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his team came up with a coalition in 2015, and now the PDP wants to replicate this through Atiku. However, the governors, Southwest governors, held a meeting in Ibadan, the state capital, on Monday, and they declared unanimously that they are not in support of that. That what they want is let people come to them if they want to form a coalition. That the party is bigger than moving away and going to form a coalition with smaller parties. So, is Atiku Abubakar on his own now with his coalition move?
Well, let me make this proposition. The reason why we are having this talk about coalition is because of the failure of opposition parties in the political system. The PDP has failed in the role of opposition. The Labour Party has failed in the role of opposition. And I dare say that if any opposition party is going to be successful in this country, the sitting president or the incumbent can only allow it in a constitutional way and, you know, allow them to actually exercise their freedom of right to perform as an opposition.
Are you saying the present president is not allowing them operate constitutionally? Well,
I wouldn't say they are not. I have not seen anyone yet, but this is my analysis to this issue. The only president that I have seen so far who has allowed opposition to actually thrive in the political arena is Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And that was possible because he said he does not want to use his full presidential powers, you know, to clamp down on opposition parties. The president that came before Goodluck Jonathan was the late Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua congratulated opposition parties that won election under his tenure, his short stint as president of Nigeria before he died. And it is too short a time to actually analyze how opposition parties, you know, fared under him. And you will recall that the likes of El-Rufai and Nuru Ribadu fled the country. They went into exile because they could see the signs that, you know, a clampdown was actually hovering around their head. Was imminent. Now, if you circle back to 1999 to 2007, you have two opposition parties, Alliance for Democracy and All People's Party. For Alliance for Democracy, you have the chairman of Alliance for Democracy. He worked in the OBG government. So as an opposition party, if you are working under the administration of an incumbent party, you know, politically, the incumbent president has actually caged you into a corner. just like we have Nyesom Wike working in the Tinubu administration, and is stifling the progress of PDP, at least with the actions that I have seen so far. So you also look at the case of Muhammadu Buhari in 2007, where he has the chairman of his party, Ume Ezeoke, working in the Yaradua government. And Buhari in 2007 said the election of 2007 was flawed. And Ume Ezeoke, the running mate to Buhari, came to the public and said the party is dissociating themselves away from the court case. And Ume Ezeoke eventually went on to work, in the Yaradua government. And that's why you see Adamu Alero, became FCT minister under the Yaradua government. Now, when you look at opposition parties, they have failed. And that is why you are seeing you are seeing them coalescing into one, to actually challenge the incumbent governor. You look at how PDP is wired, they are not wired for opposition party. The only party that has that form of opposition is the Labour Party, because they have one governor. For a party like PDP, who has about 11 or 12 governors or so.
The Labour Party that is in disarray?
That is what I'm saying. They have that form to be an opposition party, just like the way ACN under Tinubu, when he was the sole governor of ACN, he was able to galvanize the whole party and form a very good opposition against the PDP while in government, using Lai Mohammed to criticize the Jonathan administration before they formed an alliance together with Muhammadu Buhari. It's the same form that you will see in Labour Party. Labour Party has only one governor, but unfortunately for them, they have not been able to live up to the billing of of opposition party. That is why you see the different factionalization in their party. For example, Alex Soti can come out and do a press conference criticizing the ruling party. There is no governor in LP that would go and organize another press that would say how will I put it now, that would talk against what Alex Soti had said initially. But it's not possible in the PDP, because you have 13 governors. Take as an instance a PDP governor saying that they will work for the emergence of the president in 2027. That's the governor of Akwa Ibom State. That is to tell you that opposition party is dead in Nigeria. And as Nigerians, we need to look beyond political parties. We should see them only as electoral vehicle.
If you say opposition party is dead in Nigeria, then there's no need for a coalition.
That's the reason why they're actually trying to form a coalition.
To form what?
To come together as one to become a coalition.
And then be the opposition.
And be the opposition party.
But you just said now that the opposition party is dead in Nigeria. And then you've given us a reason why opposition can never work.
Can never work, exactly.
So why are they wasting their time forming a coalition?
Well, Nigerians need to see the alternative. Another alternative apart from the ruling party. If a ruling party is not performing well in government, there should be an alternative that Nigerians can actually fall back on. As a matter of fact, media and the civil society should be the first legs of opposition party. In case the ruling party at the center is not delivering on good governance.
Well, many will tell you that there's freedom of speech, and freedom of speech may not be guaranteed.
Well,
all right, we'll go on this break. We'll come back briefly. Stick around. Don't go away. welcome back from that break, a very short break. Yes, let's go straight to Rivers State, where lawyers are challenging the Rivers State Sole Administrator's powers. Yes, this is some kind of ruffle fight, tit for tat at this time. The Sole Administrator is saying, we'll return back some money, 300 million naira given to them. But they say it's a gift from the suspended governor, Sim Fubara. Now, the lawyers are now trying to challenge the powers of the sole administrator. Will Ibas, that's the sole administrator, will he survive this?
Unfortunately, the Constitution does not recognize a sole administrator.
Okay.
It's very clear. Sections 1 and subsection 3 of the Constitution has declared its supremacy over any other laws or arrangements, that comes into play in the polity. So it is the president that actually empowered Vice Admiral Ibas to become an administrator in Rivers State. And, in the Constitution, it says that if any other laws or gazettes, is actually competing side by side with the Constitution actually takes precedence. The replacement of an elected official or elected governor or president in Nigeria, the Constitution is very clear about that, and the succession path. As far as I'm concerned, having a sole administrator in the country is ultra-vires of what the Constitution has said. But unfortunately, the case is sub judice before the Supreme Court. But we have had precedents in the past where the Supreme Court has actually ruled against sole administrators, in Plateau State and Ekiti State. Yeah. So I'm very, very eager to see how or where the Supreme Court will take its stand on this issue once again. Maybe the Supreme Court will overrule itself in 2 previous precedents ruling that he has made in the past. But so as far as I'm concerned...
Quick one before we round it off. So the sole administrator, Ibas, retired Admiral Ibas, has he touched the tiger's tail by trying to confront the lawyers, the Nigerian Bar Association?
No, I don't think he has touched the tiger's tail. Of course, if it's MBA saying it is a gift, yes. What we should be looking at is how has it been framed in the list of, let me say, in the budgets. Is it categorized under miscellaneous, the gift? Is it categorized under corporate social responsibility to associations? So we need to be looking at...
What legal experts are warning here is that the administrator may be overreaching the bounds of his mandate, particularly in relation to appointments and removals of public officials. That's the reason why.
I think I agree with that. He's actually overreaching. He is overreaching because I've not seen anywhere the president or the Federal Executive Council have actually ratified that elected officials, should be removed, or where he should appoint of senior officials into government. I have not seen that, because when it was being inaugurated, at least from the press conference that the president gave, this presidential speech, he said he will be working within the ambits of what the Federal Executive Council or the executive arm of government prescribed for him. I have not seen the executive arm of government,
But the National Assembly is saying, well, they have the powers. Yeah, they direct whatever happens in Rivers State.
Is it the same National Assembly that could not have a voice, that could not do
a proper election, but had a voice vote?
By having a voice vote. So I think we should ignore...
So there is a faulty process.
Of course, the foundation...
Ab initio.
Yes, the foundation is faulty. And, when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do?
Right. Thank you for joining us on the agenda today. Dolapo, thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Mr. Chike.
You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to listen to us live and interact with us. You can also follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and on the app X at Dominion Cast.